The Daddy Framework Defined Phase Success Milestones. Now that you have defined what kind of company you wish to have to meet customer requirements and minimize competition, you are halfway finished with the Daddy Framework Defined Phase. The other half of your defined phase activities pertains to defining success. Again, success is a complex word within your infinite number of definitions. Success may entail doing what you enjoy. It may include having personal and moral gratification for what you do. For many, it may address an acceptable work-life balance. All these examples of success are perfectly acceptable. My personal definition of success was more direct and perhaps a bit less noble. However, I will not apologize for it. I had a growing family with mushrooming financial obligations. I know it sounds shallow, but success to me was purely financial. I did not have the luxury of seeking enjoyment or personal satisfaction. There you have it without any spin. I don't believe in putting lipstick on a pig. It was all about the money. Having said that, I thoroughly enjoyed creating something and breathing life into it. I absolutely love starting and running a company. However, I would have shoveled manure if it enabled me to provide for my family better. I had obligations that I had to fulfill. Narrowing my defined success to purely financial gains was still too vague. My ultimate goal was to obtain my magic number. However, that goal did little to help shape my immediate strategy. To stay on track, I had to define success over time. I decided to do it in phases. My first success was market penetration and making my first dollar through my company. My next success was to make enough money to leave my day job and work for myself full time. After that, my goal was to hire employees. Then it was to create enough revenue so I could stop doing billable work and cover myself on overhead. In a nutshell, my initial success goals were enablers for me to keep my company alive and to support ongoing growth. Once I was on stable footing with funded infrastructure and reliable revenue streams in place, I considered my wealth accumulation goals that would track my course to my magic number. Please note that my defined success did not include a glass enclosed corporate office, signage on our building, a personal assistant, a corporate jet, or even a specific number of employees. My defined goals were all about financial well-being. I was more concerned about addressing my growing financial obligations than feeding my ego with flashy displays of success. I know it sounds obvious to focus on financial goals, but it is incredibly easy to get caught up with playing the role of a successful business owner and CEO. I know small business owners who had personal assistants, memberships at exclusive business and country clubs, and ludicrous corner offices. I'm talking about corner offices that were the size of a basketball court with ridiculous views, and $50,000 in office furniture and decor. One of my colleagues had a company that made a ton of money for many years until he hit a spell of bad luck and went out of business. During the periods that he was extremely successful, he bought luxury corporate space, surrounded himself with superfluous employees, and enjoyed over-the-top corporate perks. In other words, he squandered a financially secure early retirement to look successful. After running a successful company for 2 decades, he's now looking for a job to make ends meet. It's easy to do. I propose defining your desired end states for 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. By giving yourself intermittent goals, you minimize the pressure to swing for the fence every time that you're up at bat. Getting base hits will likely be your best strategy to score enough points to win. I know that this is a somewhat meandering section, so please allow me to summarize. The Daddy Framework Defined Phase gives you purpose, direction, and a strategy for your company to attain success. In my case, I considered what I was decent at doing and defined my capabilities using NAID codes. I adjusted my capability set to align with what the federal government needed. I confirmed the federal government's demand function with actual current solicitations to ensure that the requirements were funded. Finally, I looked at ways to reduce my competitive field by identifying requirements that would serve as barriers to market entry for my potential competitors. This included completing my service disability application so that I could compete as a service disabled veteran-owned small business while also pursuing a facility security clearance for my company. Once I determined what kind of company I would create in its target markets, I established what success looked like. I determined intermittent financial goals that provided a framework for both short-term and long-term success. The short-term goals were enablers to ensure the viability and growth of my company. The long-term goals dealt with wealth accumulation to attain my magic number. As previously mentioned, your company's most immediate performance goal should likely be market penetration. This will almost certainly come in a form of a subcontract. Your next goal should be making enough revenue to carry you on your company's overhead. Once you are working full-time in your company as well as on your company, you should then be targeting prime contracts. After winning a significant prime contract and solidifying a revenue base, then start positioning yourself to be an acquisition target. Grow into the ideal acquisition candidate. Finally, when an offer comes along that addresses your goals, sign the dotted line and live your best life possible. The define phase is vitally important to the ultimate success of your company. Like I tell my kids, there's a monumental difference between doing something and doing something right. This is not a level of effort task. This task must be done right. The likely success of your company depends upon it. My kids and I joke about a Far Side comic that shows a sneaky student pulling out a bigger brain that was hidden in his jacket during a test. You definitely need to pull out your bigger brain in the define phase.